And we are, the go live button means that we have gone live. We're alive, I think. Thank you so much for being here. The mic is on, right? Yes. Probably should check that before we start going live. That is usually the helpful thing. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Before we even get started, I noticed that Madeline is a new prime timer. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoy the experience. And we are going to be talking fish tonight. That might be a huge surprise for a lot of you because
big surprise.
I mean, I guess our channel is Primetime Aquatics, so that would be the thing that we should be talking about if we're going to be hanging out here this fine evening in the middle of summer. It is the midsummer live stream.
Even my drink says summer berry.
Did you know? How many of you think it's weird that technically summer started on the 21st of this month, like a few days ago, a couple days ago?
Yeah, I never understand it. It should be June 1st. Summer.
Yes. So basically, well, I agree with you. I personally think that December, January, February is winter. March, April, May is spring. June, July, August is summer. And then September, October, November, that's the fall. That should be the thing. I don't care about the full moons or the 21st of this, the 21st of that.
I know.
Or the peak sunlight or the peak not sunlight. Irrelevant. What matters is the month. That's what matters most. And so welcome
midsummer.
For all of us who know, well, technically it's not midsummer because even by our own standards that we just established as the only correct ones, it would be mid-July. That would be midsummer.
It would be a third then. We'd be almost a third of the way done.
Yes. Welcome to a third of the summer of the way done. So now that we have that settled, this will allow us to have a common understanding for the rest of the live stream. I don't know. I don't know why I went there. I don't. So just, it is what it isn't, right? HB, hiya, prime time. Hello, chatters and lurkers. What's up? What's up? I want to say thank you again. Second floor is here hanging out with us. Not sure any other moderators are in the house just yet. So second floor, it's all on you. No, just kidding. It's never all on you.
It's all on you.
It is all on me, I suppose. That's kind of a lot of pressure you just put on me. Little Midwest is here. Hi, fish friends. That's what they say. Very cool. Tony, hello from Ohio. I love it when everybody gives us the where we've been.
I love that. I love it too. I could just sit here and read like where y'all are from. That would really be fun. Rink's in the house. I know Rink's a local dude. Hey, Andy.
Yep. Oh, hey, by the way, dude, because Betta Aquatics was so kind to give you the Daphnia last week, and you gave us your address this weekend, I now have it sitting right in front of me. Let me show everybody where. No, I'm just kidding.
Go stop by.
I'm going to get this to Flip Aquatics so that they ship your Daphnia the way that they're supposed to. Sorry for the delay there. We do have a question before we get into all the other stuff that we normally get into. Before I forget it, Slamboy asked a question. That is, can anyone tell me what is causing white slime sludge on my sponge filters? I'm not exactly sure what causes it, but it's one of the most annoying things. I don't know how many of you have ever had this on your sponge filters where they get that crazy amount of slime to the point where even like for us, we clean them in tap water. You squeeze them and like nothing, it's not really absorbing water all that well. Nothing's really coming out. What I can tell you, what I personally do is I take my two fingers, I put my thumbs in the center and I take the sponge out and I take my two fingers and I wipe all that slime off and then give the sponge a good cleaning just so that all that nasty brown stuff comes out. And usually that will go away. Now, what I think, at least in my experience, what has happened, the reason why that is caused is often it is associated with driftwood or some type of large organic compounds. Maybe it's dead or dying plants, but often for me at least, it's driftwood. And then once that tank settles in, that slime issue that you're talking about often goes away. And so it's not something that I worry about long term. So before we get into a lot of the Q&A, and there will be a whole, that's what tonight is. It's all about you. You have questions. We have responses. I don't know if they're always going to be answers, but we will have responses.
It might be tangents.
That should be our new thing. Question and response.
Instead of Q&A?
Yeah.
Question, Q&R.
Q&R. That's what it is. So let's see. Videos that have happened over the last week or so. This past Sunday on Primetime Aquatics, I did a video. Yeah, it's getting to that point in my life where
I like the thumbnail.
you did like the thumbnail, huh? Like the thumbnail on my video? Oh, that's right. I did the video on
Test
the
kit.
Fritz aquarium, and I still have it right here. Check this out.
Yeah.
I did a video on this bad boy.
It's a very nice package.
Yeah, the Fritz water test kit. There are some cool things and some advantages to using that. If you haven't checked it out, it's worth hopefully checking out because it's a little bit different. I mean, there's only so much you can do with a water test kit that's going to make it unique and still work. So if you're used to using like the API one and stuff, there's some similarities there, but I like it because it has a wide range pH test and the directions are way, way easier to read and to follow. And the color charts to me are a little bit easier to deal with. So anyway, hopefully you'll check that out. On Monday, the Tank Talk podcast, we did a how many aquariums is too many thing. And so if you haven't checked that out on the Tank Talk podcast, that would be a fun one to definitely see. And then today on your video, what did you do on the small scape?
I did some more shopping. I went to Petco, and there were a few things there that I had never seen. One was funny.
The other one was healthy fish. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a little. It's a little Petco joke. I'm sorry.
That's a little ick joke.
Yeah. It's a little. All the fish have bacterial disease. I'm kidding. They don't. That's a joke.
So anyways,
take it easy, big fans of Petco. I was just kidding.
So anyways, one thing was funny. One thing was one thing I wanted, and the third thing was
catastrophic. Oh wait,
you
no.
totally ruined my train of thought now.
Oh man,
you have to watch it. Tell me what the third thing was.
You'll have to tell her what the third thing was. So, yeah, I have a habit of doing that. I'm very sorry.
One thing made me proud. One thing made me proud.
One thing made you proud. Okay, so that's cool. Yeah, check it out. It'll be a wonderful video on the small scape. So tomorrow we'll have the members video out, and then of course Sunday we'll have another video out on Prime Time Aquatics talking about awesome stuff. Where we're going to be, and this is very relevant to what Adam's question is, because we met at Aquella in Daytona, me and my wife Kimberly. Hope you're well. Thank you so much. Yeah, Aquella is awesome. And that is the next major thing that we're going to be at. That is August 3rd and 4th. I think we mentioned this last week, for the first time ever, we're going to have our own booth at Aquella Chicago in August. And that's going to be exciting because normally we are, and I love that, being part of the media lounge and that group there, which is great, but it limits us in terms of what we can bring. A lot of times in the past, we've brought the merch, the shirts and stuff like that. And we will do that for Chicago. We did not do it for Dallas because we rode the motorcycles down, but for Chicago, that's definitely going to happen. But more than that, because we have our own booth, we'll be able to bring all the fish. And as long as everything comes in that I ordered, that is already going to be here next week for the quarantine process, because we like to quarantine everything for at least 4 weeks. Right, so that if you buy fish at Aquella, you know that the fish have been happy, healthy, eating, used to our water, and they've been doing great for a month. And hopefully that is something that most people appreciate. So yeah, we have got a lot of interesting fish that we're bringing in, a lot of fan favorites, and a couple new things. One fish that, if it comes in, is extremely rare, that I have actually not seen before. But it's cool. It's not a very large fish. So for those of you who have at least a 20-gallon-ish, certainly a 29, this fish will fit. But it's going to be in limited supplies. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who are used to buying fish from our swaps, we're not putting anything on pre-order. So it's way too complicated with us with Aquella. You know, the fact that it's a 2-day thing, the fact that we're not pre-bagging anything. We're going to have tanks there like a lot of people at Aquella do. So we will have tanks there, and so it's going to be basically you buy the fish and we bag them up as you buy them. So there's not going to be any pre-order. So we will at some point, once I know that everything I ordered came in, that everything is doing well, like I do for the swaps, probably at least a couple weeks before the Aquella happens, I will put out on social media, hey, here's the things that we're going to have available. And then if you really want them, the best I can do for you is get there on Saturday, especially for the stuff that has lower quantities. Most of it will have pretty large quantities, but that's what's going to happen. It's exciting though, because there's going to be. Are you going to have some homemade handicrafts, some one-off or couple off special edition things?
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
spent probably a good year buying stuff to. Although I saw the funniest thing on Pinterest. This is really funny. It's really short. There are two different hobbies. One that you buy craft supplies. One that you actually make stuff with it. They're two separate hobbies. But anyways, isn't that funny?
You're about to combine those
Isn't
two
that funny?
into
Yeah.
the second one,
It's a
hopefully?
crafting joke. Anybody who does, crafts.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm very excited. And HB wants to know what I'm drinking. This is Waterloo sparkling water, which he can't stand, which is so funny. Every once in a while, I'll get like a different flavor. I'll be like, oh no, you're gonna like this one.
There
He
is
hates them
no
all.
such thing as sparkling water that even is remotely
good.
satisfying. I would
This is
rather dehydrate and
good.
just wither away into a prune than
Do
have to drink
you
that.
want to know why this one is extra good?
Because it's probably extra gross.
No, because of the beautiful can for the 4th of July coming up. It's very summer, patriotic. There you go. That's what it is.
And
Cheers.
inside the can is still a giant can of hydrogen peroxide and
No.
Listerine
It's just no
that
calorie,
bubbles.
bubbly water
Ugh.
that has essence of fruit.
No. I'd rather drink a
shush.
1980s tab warm.
Wow.
Yeah. Give me
I
a
remember
warm,
that.
flat tab, and I would rather have that
In the
than
pink can.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would go that direction. So anyway,
Wait, let's forget
hold on. Let's
the-
finish our
the
thoughts.
number up
That
there,
is where
up
we're
there.
going to be and what we're doing in the video land. So yes, please share with the class. Want to say a big thank you to everybody who showed up at the swap, the Greenwater swap on Saturday. It was awesome. We had to miss May because we were at Aquella Dallas, and then we
Yeah.
got to do this one. So that was a big turnout there. And while we were there, we got that awesome
Can you see
picture.
it?
Now, in my infinite wisdom, I was so excited to get this
We
present,
were.
this homemade present right here, that I forgot to ask the young man's name who made it. So if you're here for some reason, can you just pipe in somewhere and be like, oh yeah, that was me. I gave it to you, because I feel horrible because, like I said, he brought the thing, he made it himself, and I was like, that is cool. And it's like
They're like the beads. I forget the bead
Yeah,
names
rubber
that you lay them out,
beads.
and then you can like iron. I think you
Yeah.
iron them, and they like connect. And it was basically the same design, similar design as the shirt.
mm-hmm.
Our blue try on the pink.
Now last week you had mentioned
So sweet.
that you purchased a sweatshirt that is supposed to be, which I disagree with completely, and you wanted to show and tell that because last
I
week
did.
you mentioned that you
I did. All right. So anybody who was here last week, and I said that I'd gotten the most awesome hoodie on the face of the world, and I just had to get it because it reminded me of somebody. You ready? All right. So this was a Harley dealer, probably Appleton. Was it Appleton? I think it was Appleton.
I don't know where it was.
So anyways,
No.
it's basically a skeleton version of Jason.
She actually calls it that, like her sweatshirt. She calls
do.
it the
I say,
Jason sweatshirt.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
And one time he was cold. For whatever reason, you were cold, which was weird to begin with.
Because we were in Door County. It was freaking freezing.
Oh, that's right. I came
Yeah.
prepared. I had lots of layers. He
Yeah.
did not. So he wore it, and it was him wearing him. It was hilarious.
Oh,
So
you're
anyways-
hilarious.
That's my show and tell.
How about that? Okay, we got a bunch of questions building up over here. And I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to answer said questions, because I did say, you all heard it, this is going to be a fish Q&A, and I'm pretty sure it said that in the title as well. And while we're on the subject, we've got Wet Sleeves Aquatics that just gifted 5 prime
Aw.
timers, some memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. That's pretty darn awesome of you. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
Nice.
All right, so let's go here. Bringing up some questions. We got Alex saying, any beginner plant recommendations setting up a 20 long? Give Alex a couple. Quickly.
Beginner plant recommend zip it. Well, we're going to say Anubias. Anubias is great for the beginner. So are crypts if you want to
Yep.
plant something into the substrate. But if you really want something that you absolutely can't kill, you would probably want to look into like Java moss. Java moss is one of the hardiest aquatic plants. It's just going to kind of sit there in a blob. Of course,
Unless you're running higher temperatures, then I've found Java moss to
True.
be
It
not
won't-
so great.
true. You can always attempt to have some duckweed because
Oh, don't do that on purpose. We have it in our fish room. None of that's been on purpose.
duckweed is very
Don't-
tiny and cute when you first
It's
see
not.
it, and you're like, oh, it's so cute. It
Mm-mm.
multiplies like gremlins, but it's very difficult to kill. So there you go.
It's impossible to get rid of. It's like saying, hey, you know what? Oh, you like bugs? Well, there are these really cool roly-polies that people always like to keep. Or you can get head lice. Head lice they're technically bugs, and yeah, they're easy to keep.
Duckweed's not as bad as head lice.
It's basically the head lice because it floats.
All you do
That's
is-
my new thing.
All you gotta do is crank up the
Duckweed
flow.
is the head lice of aquarium keeping. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the head lice of aquariums, duckweed. It's in most of our tanks. I don't make
It
any
is.
serious attempt to get rid of it.
You don't.
We scoop it out every week just to make sure that the fish food can, actually, I don't know,
Reach
the
the
fish
fish.
can actually find the fish food. But other than that, we don't really worry about it. It does serve a purpose. It does help with ammonia, nitrite, keeping the nitrate levels a little bit lower. But overall, don't do that on purpose. Nubius and Crips. Crips are better. And Joanna knows it. She's just afraid to say it.
Anubias.
Yeah.
I love Anubias, and it's my
Crips.
favorite plant.
Crips are better. Let's see here. Hello, I love your channel. I currently have a 75-gallon behind me, cycled behind me. About to start a Peacock Cichlid tank. Does starting with 5 or so peacocks sound like a good starting point? Maybe. So, all right, so I'm going to tell you my preference. Doesn't mean that you can't do it your way. It's been done. I've done it. But it can be a little challenging with the peacocks in a 75, and it doesn't seem like it at first. So if I were doing a peacock tank in a 75-gallon, I would get most of my inhabitants in the aquarium within a couple of months, especially if and I'm assuming it's going to be an all-male peacock tank. Now, the reason why I hesitate personally with the 75-gallon peacock tank is I find the peacocks, even all-male peacock tanks, to be more difficult to manage than even the Mbuna tanks. I know the Mbuna get a really bad rap. Oh, they're super aggressive, but I just haven't found that to be true. The tank over here is a yellow lab Pseudotrophia psilocybe Mbuna tank, 0 issues. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you've seen I had the 75-gallon on the other side that was up for years and years and years. Virtually no problems there with the Mbuna, but Peacock Cichlids, they have a hierarchy, and in a 75-gallon, sometimes it's hard to overstock that tank sufficiently because they actually usually get larger than a lot of the Mbuna. And so you're dealing with the size of the fish. You might be able to comfortably get, maybe 10 to 12 in a 75-gallon before it really starts looking cramped. Can you not do that in the middle of my speech?
I'm sorry. I
kidding.
told you I was getting a cough this morning.
She's getting a sickness.
I might be.
Yeah, here, take your watermelon over there. Okay, so that's why I'm a little hesitant. Could you start out with 5? Yes. Eventually maybe get to 10 to 12-ish. Yes. Could you potentially have problems because it's still not enough for the overstocking, but still you're reaching the limits when they're full grown? Maybe. So, but yes, you could start with 5, but I wouldn't wait too long to start adding the other ones because they form their hierarchy pretty quickly. You're going to have a dominant male in there probably within a couple weeks who's starting to color up, even if you get them small. And then it just gets a little bit more complicated to add new ones as they age.
Oh, and we got an answer here. Ted says that his sons Teddy and Alex made and they're called
Thank you.
perler beads.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Perler beads.
Appreciate
We love it.
Teddy
And he immediately.
Teddy and Alex?
Yeah.
Awesome. Teddy and Alex, you guys rule. Thank you.
And let's see. Oh, there was a question on let's see, little shrimpies. Where did it go? 300. If a 300 count, who was it? I can't find who asked the question. Go ahead. I'm gonna look for the question.
Okay. So Whip's here.
Hey,
Celebrating
Whip.
19 months of being a prime timer. Holy smokes, prime time primate partners, are amazing. You've kept me rolling even with my Google Play drama. Also, hi, Jason and Joanna. What's up, everybody? What's up, Whip? Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks,
I'm always
Whip.
happy when you're here.
That's right. It's always better when Whip's here, you know.
All right, let me see.
Oh, here, this is from Slam Boy. Okay. Will a 300 count cherry shrimp tank stress a betta?
Depends on the size of the tank. Probably not. I think actually what's going to happen is your betta is going to be really appreciating that 300 count that slowly goes down to a 200
Maybe.
count betta tank. The smaller ones. He's
Maybe.
probably not going to chew on the adults. And don't get me wrong, we've had plenty of people keep bettas and shrimp together, and they're like, yeah, it worked out just fine. Also had a fair number of people that said, yeah, I never saw a shrimp baby again. Right now, if we've already got 300, and then they're going to be breeding a lot. Even a betta is going to be like, man, I'm getting full. I don't think I can eat all these babies. But they will absolutely munch down on the little ones. All right, let's see here. We've got from Sylvie Wood a giant betta, 10 to 12 ember tetras and green kubai, and 6 to 9 stir-by cories be fine in a 29-gallon planted tank. Yeah, I think that would be fine. Keep the embers and the green kubai well fed. Feed them a couple times a day. Just make sure they're not getting to the point where they're like, betta fins. Those look tasty. And even when you do that, sometimes you might have some tetras that are, you just never know. We didn't have a problem with that combination. I've kept bettas with embers before. I don't recall ever keeping them with green kubai, but it worked out just fine, provided that they were fed and not in the mood to go searching for food that sometimes a betta fin looks like a little bit of food, like a little Ruffles chip, right?
Right.
So don't give them the Ruffles chip
snack.
food. Yeah.
I was actually surprised when I was looking at the 125 nano tank, because sometimes I'll just sit there and watch it. I was actually quite surprised that the green kubai are slightly larger than the embers. Did you see that?
Oh yeah,
Isn't
they
that
are a
crazy?
little bit larger.
I always picture, you always have these things that are just stuck in your head no matter what you see. I just always picture green kubai as tiny.
And they're both tiny. I mean,
They are tiny.
Again, we've got
I
these
just-
guys in a 125, so they couldn't ask for much more space. That's the tank right behind my head. You see all the little tiny fish swimming around in there. That's basically a combination of green kubai, ember tetras, diamond head neons. We have some Gertrude rainbows and some
Yes.
Pascal rainbows, and they're like little tiny. These are little tiny
Adorable.
rainbows. And then some giant coolies, which are just coolie loaches, only they are bigger body, different species. A couple bristlenose plecos, and I think that's it. So, but yeah,
It's a party.
pretty cool. A ghost man says, are there any methods to see if a betta will be fit for a community tank while you observe it at the pet store? Not really, because bettas just inherently act very different when they're sitting in a little tiny cup compared to when they get in a tank. And then you never know the personality of the betta. Even really active ones in a cup, you put them in a tank, they can become reclusive and shy, especially if there's a lot of fish in there already. They're not used to the activity, and they tend to be like, oh, I'm going to hide here for a while and figure this out. And then 2 weeks later, they're a terror. The opposite can happen as well, where you've got a really docile betta who's like, being in this cup sure is horrible. I don't know how much longer I'm going to make it. And then they start to gain their strength, eat a little bit, understand the lay of the how everything is laid out in the tank, and they can become rulers too. Or the opposite can happen. They can just be like, I'm just going to mind my own business and chill out, and all these other crazy little fish swimming around, that's whatever, that's on them.
Yeah, I think that happened too when I got 2 bettas one time. And I don't know, I was really excited about the one. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get a second one. And I was like, meh. And they're like the personalities flip-flop between what I thought I saw, like how they were acting in the cup, and when they got home.
Von Lurker says, Marineland Pro or Seachem Tidal? No filter's perfect. And so what I would recommend is I've done tons of videos on both. Check those out, including, I think, probably the most important videos I did for both Marineland and Seachem, where I looked at how those filters could be improved, right? Because I am not one to just be like, hey, this is the best thing ever, this is awesome, and then just leave it at that. We like to talk about, okay, here's the good things, here are some things to consider. So for those filters, here's what I like about both of them. One, they're extraordinarily quiet, provided that you are filling your tank past the little black rim area, because when you do that, you have a fully submerged motor, which is going to be silent. At least all of ours have always been completely silent. You have a self-priming system. And so what that means is, as long as the intake is in some type of water, for the most part, if the power shuts off temporarily, or there's a power blip, that filter is just going to restart. You don't need to fill the back like you do with maybe an Aqua Clear or some of the other filters that don't have that filter in the motor. Both of them have plenty of space for your filter floss and your sponge. Both of them, any hang-on-back filter is fully customizable, including both of those. The downsides, let's say to the Seachem. One, I'm not, it's minor, but I don't like the little blue dials everywhere. I don't like seeing that in my aquarium. It is a very minor thing overall. And I despise the surface skimmer on the Seachem Tidal. Now, obviously not enough to like not recommend the filter, because it is pretty much my favorite filter. I think the Marineland Pro is right there as well as far as a hang 'em back. But I really think that that surface skimmer is a 100% useless gimmick that they should absolutely get rid of, because anytime you read reviews on the Seachem Tidal, whether it's like, oh, there was a little bit of noise, or, you know, my water level dropped, it's always a problem with that surface skimmer, which in the freshwater hobby is pointless. So, great filter, never had an issue. Those things just run like crazy. Now, the Marineland Pro, there's a couple things there as well, and one of them is, so the motor housing, if you ever need to get to the impeller, you have to take the bottom of the motor housing out and you can clean the impeller. The problem is after the first time of taking that off, when you snap it back together, it becomes a little bit more of a chore. It'll snap back together eventually, but there have been a few times where you go to snap that thing back together, think you've got it together, and then all of a sudden you go down to your tank and like, what is going on here? Why is this thing doing a spinning thing? And it's because that part is not fully latched. The plastic is cheaper on the Marineland Pro for the intake, and that big intake part that's kind of like the screen is very thin. And so because of that, it can get a little bit clogged easier than some of the other filters. Like certainly like the AquaClear, to me, has one of the better sizes for the intake screen that they use. But other than that, again, they're both pretty good. So the other thing too is with the Seachem Tidal, if you have a smaller tank, I would actually go Marineland Pro, because I am not a fan of the Seachem Tidal of anything over a 20 long. So I really like the Seachem Tidals for a 10 gallon, a 20 long. The low boys, it worked out great, but once you get to like a 29 gallon, it's not a great filter because it doesn't have an intake. So where it's taking in water, or let me rephrase, there's no intake tube. So where it's taking in water is really close to the surface of the tank, which is also where the water is returning back in. So you're not getting very good circulation. You're going to get a lot of buildup at stuff on the bottom. So used both for many years. I've had all the Seachems in here. And again, if you have the Seachem Tidal on a 10 or a 20 long, something shorter, it works out really great for the 35. The bigger ones are awesome. They do have the intake tube. So you can't go wrong with either one. They're both good choices. The other obvious thing, I think the Marineland Pros are considerably cheaper than the Seachem Tidals as well. But if I had to put money on which one will last the next 10 to 15 years, I'd probably bet on the Seachem Tidal just because it is more robust. Hi.
Hi, stocking question.
Yes.
This is from PC. Hey, can I have, let's see, I have a 10-gallon tank that's 80% planted. Can I keep 3 tiger barbs or 6 in a 10?
I'm going to offer you a different number for a 10 gallon with the tiger barbs, and that would be 0. So trust me. Just trust me. I know you like tiger barbs. I'm going to give you an alternative too, okay? So I'm going to give you an alternative. Tiger barbs, in my experience, and if you talk to a lot of people here, like I would love to hear from people in the chat, what's been your experience with tiger barbs? They can be absolutely brutal on one another. And if you don't keep them in really large groups, what they wind up doing, and this has happened every single time I've had this fish in groups of less than a dozen or 15. What they do is you get the standard wisdom, get 6 of anything that's schools. All right, get 6 tiger barbs. Give them time, let them grow a little bit, and pretty soon what you start to see is, here's 5 tiger barbs over here and 1 over here. Within a couple days, that tiger barb is no longer with us because it's been ganged up on by the other 5. Week later, you're like, there's 4 tiger barbs and 1 over here. And they bully that one. And then you go 3 and 1, and then 2 and 1, and then pretty soon you're left with 1. So unless you're going to keep the tiger barbs in big groups, and it doesn't always happen, but I'm just saying to maximize your success in at least 12 to 15. Now for me, I wouldn't even consider it unless I had a space for at least 25, which means I'm going to need at least a 75-gallon tank, right? Or maybe a 55-gallon would work just fine. But those fish actually get pretty big. I mean, I have seen very large tiger barbs that were close to 3 inches long, but also very tall-bodied, and they get pretty wide. So tiger barbs can be ruthless on one another, and they can be fin nippers. And when you get them in small
Yeah.
groups, they are much more likely to fin nip any other fish. So I want at least a 55-gallon for a group. Oh, can I pick one now? I've got a really good one here
All right, sweet.
because it's so different, and I like it. Thomas says, Betta or Maltese, which is a shell dweller, which is your favorite? For me, it's the Maltese, right? I don't have to really think much about it. I've got the 50-gallon lowboy filled with Maltese. I love Bettas. Clearly, they are a more beautiful fish. I'm not saying that they aren't. I think, hands down, Bettas are some of the most beautiful fish in the fresh-keeping fish water, for all your choices.
Fresh keeping?
Fresh fish keeping freshy. Biggie Smalls. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Yeah. So anyway, in fish keeping and freshwater fish keeping, Bettas are absolutely gorgeous. But for me, I'd pick the Maltese because the personalities are amazing, and they've got the community personalities, and they breed like, they breed like rabbits really in freshwater. If you got anything longer than a 20-gallon of freshwater, it's the only thing they can breed in. But
And they're very photogenic. They're going to hold still.
Well,
They're going to
Bettas
take
too.
great pictures.
I mean, a Betta's extremely photogenic.
They're very photogenic, but sometimes if you have a fast-moving Betta, it can be harder to get a great shot. I think Maltese are the most photogenic fish. I really do.
I think
And
that's
I'm going to stand
debatable.
by it. I'm stand by it.
Mike, thank you so much for being a prime timer the last 12 months, otherwise known as 1 year. Really appreciate it. Any suggestions on tank mates for 6 Amazon puffers and a heavily planted 60 breeder? I have not kept Amazon puffers, so I am not sure. But if somebody here has kept them and can give good advice in a 60 breeder, I would love to hear it, because the only puffers I've kept are pea puffers. And Amazon puffers I know are larger, but I don't know, I'm not an expert on what are they eating, how fast do they eat. So I would unfortunately be a really bad person to give advice about Amazon puffers, which, I know what they are. That's about as far as I can take it. Like if you said, what is that? I'd be like, oh, it's an Amazon puffer. Congratulations. Tell me about it. I don't know. It's that thing.
There was a question earlier, I don't know from who, if a pea puffer would be good for a community tank. My question would be, who else is in the community tank, and what size is your tank?
Yeah, all those things apply, because the thing about pea puffers is, you're right, if there are other fish like small cichlids or anything else that's going to eat snails, the pea puffer is probably going to lose that battle.
Yep.
If your pea puffer won't hunt the snails on his own, then you got to pre-crush them. Are the other fish in the tank going to take advantage of that way before the pea puffer? Pea puffers are very, very methodical, very slow eaters. If there are fast-moving fish, that's most likely like endlers or guppies, that is going to stress out your pea puffer.
Or Nanochroma splendens.
Well, they just ate the snails, right? They were
Right.
Yeah, so that was our
They were
cichlid
very
snail
fast.
problem.
Yeah, that was my issue.
Yeah, so people do it all the time. Obviously, pea puffers are considered somewhat of a community fish, but you really got to have your tank mates nailed down. Fish that are slower. I guess there's a little bit of a concern with possible fin nipping, but if it were me and I were keeping pea puffers in a community tank, maybe if I had some small tetras or rasboras like you did, you had them in the 12 long with lamp eye rasboras?
Yep.
Sparkling
CPDs.
gouramis and CPDs. That worked out. That worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
But you just gotta be careful with your tank mates. All right, let me see. Andrew says, my mystery snails are 2 different colors. Will their eggs hatch multiple different colors? That's a good question. I don't know if they're going to be 2 different colors, or will they just be split like, oh, I had some gold mystery snails and some blues. I'm not sure, because every time I've bred mystery snails, they've always been pure. Like we had the golds, we had the ivories, we had the blue mystery snails, and whenever they bred, obviously, they were the only ones in the tank, so I didn't ever have a mixed where there was a potential for hybridization. I don't know if anybody's done that and they can answer the question. Ross says green neon rasboras with pea puffers. Yep, for sure. Oh, where did it go? Oh, here we go. Kelly says, would you guys put shell dwellers in a 20 long? Not only would we have. So absolutely we had. If you look at my species profile of Neolamprologus similis, we had those in a 20 long. Happy breeding. They're basically very similar to Maltese. There are a little bit of difference in terms of the color and the striping pattern, especially near the head. But we bred gold ocellatus in 20 longs. I'd have no problem keeping multis. I don't think there's a shell dweller I wouldn't. Maybe the Meleagris I might not keep in a 20 because they're a little bit rough on one another. But even the gold ocellatus, they're not exactly a picnic to deal with. But we were able to breed them in a 20 long for quite some time. If you look back at some of the old old fish room tours that we did, especially the part 2s, you'd see gold ocellatus probably in like 2019, 2020, 2021. They were all there, I think, in that tank until we moved them. What you got? You got something you want to say?
Yeah, Noelle says she just got back from 3 days of paddleboarding at 9,000 feet.
What?
And a long drive home. But she still got a little bit more time off. So
I bet you have a lot more red blood cells now. Do you feel better with additional red blood cells? That's a medical joke.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it's really a joke. It's medical nerdery. 9 days, that should have been enough. I would think.
Let's see. Oh, Evan says, have you considered doing a video covering the different aspects or characteristics of fish that differentiate the various families of fish? Or does it already exist?
Well, that's a good question. I have done videos. I just did a beginner's guide to African cichlids that broke fish out based on the Lake Malawi, Lake Tanganyika, Lake Victoria. I've done videos on specifically Lake Tanganyikan fish. Let's see, I've done videos on tetras, like the best tetras, the best rasboras, and then a bunch of species profiles, but I don't know, like I haven't done anything scientific, like here's the best genus of Physobricon or something like that. Because when I do those videos, it's, again, these are fish that I all want to keep for extended periods of time. So sometimes to get that complete, it would be, I'd have to bring in a lot of fish to do that.
What about this? One video, this might be what you're asking either. I'm not really quite sure, Evan. What about this? A video that has like the different kind of groups of fish and then examples under that, like in one video.
Oh, yeah,
you know what
that
I mean?
would be
like
write that down.
Guide to like tropical fish or guide to the freshwater fish keeping. And you know what I mean? And then you have the big categories.
Write it down, because I get what you're saying. Like a video says, okay, you know, you're going to a pet store. You got tetras, you've got barbs, you've got live bears, you've got, I would like to do that.
African cichlids, and then, you know, all the different cichlid world.
I will do that video.
All you cichlid people just go rattling off.
I wouldn't include the cichlids in there as much as I would just the standard, because they're not community fish. So,
no, they're
and
not.
that's already been done. I already did the cichlids. So
Did
if
you?
people want information, I just said I did the video about
what was it called?
Guide to African cichlids.
Oh, okay.
Like 3 weeks ago, brah. You didn't watch it?
No. I can't watch all
We're
of them.
getting divorced.
Ah!
No marriage, no marriage counselor, no trial separation, just straight to divorce. And I don't want to get friggin' divorced.
I should know this one.
You seriously don't know it?
No, I can't
Don't
think of
say it out loud.
He always
but that
quizzes me
is
like
beyond disappointing.
5 movie quotes a day if
Jimmy?
I'm lucky. And sometimes I just don't feel like playing.
Do you like oak? Yeah, oak is nice. I think your Uncle Marcellus Wallace would like you to have oak.
Don't
Wow.
quote guy movies to me.
That is highly... they took that for you to understand... Wow, just another reason why I don't know if you can sit next to me anymore.
Okay, I gotta go. I'm in trouble.
Evan says, nothing like hearing Jason say, write that down to your video idea.
That?
Oh, yeah. You bring the good ones. You bring them. When I say, like, people will leave comments about you writing down the video idea.
Yeah, but where should I write it?
Wherever you're going to have it. Wait.
You're talking to somebody who has like multiple notebooks here.
You can't write it there. You have to write it in here. This is my book.
Oh, see, there you go.
So find my page with the book of ideas. This is my book of ideas. You can't see them. See? So trust me, there's more than this blank page. But go to the page where I had lists and lists and lists of ideas and write it down. But yeah, in the comments sections of videos, whenever someone's like, hey, this would be a great idea, and I say, yes, I will add that to my list. It's in my book of ideas with literally hundreds of others. But
no,
I like it. KG Tropical. Some dude named KG Tropicals. How come no one ever asked me what's the easiest plants? I always get asked how many blah can go in a blah gallon. Because
John, what are the easiest plants?
Yeah.
What say you? Come on.
Come
And
on.
Lisa can pipe in too. I want to
That's
know.
right.
Well,
Give it up in the comments section below, or in the
Cough it up.
the chat little area there. Give us your top 3 easiest, most awesomest plants that you can come up with on the face of the earth. Okay. Oh, wait. All right. Now we got some Pulp Fictions rolling in here. Jennifer. Yeah. Good job, everybody. Good job. Tank Girl. Okay. At least we have some people. Some people know. That's good.
Yeah, picking up my slack.
Hold on a second here.
Yeah, Matthew does. Hey, Matthew does stuff. Hey, Matthew.
What's up?
Java moss and duckweed. Those were 2 things that I said. Thank you very much.
Don't encourage her with the duckweed. Okay. Don't encourage her with fish tank head lice.
You know what? Flip Aquatics, on one of their shorts, I am thoroughly enjoying their shorts. They're not only, some of them are they're either very entertaining and funny, or they're very informational. This
And
one
sad.
that I watched, Flip was asked him a question, and said it was kind of like a game, like what's the easiest freshwater aquatic plant, and they all guessed Anubias. He's like no, and I forget what the other ones like what Olivia guessed, but anyways he's like duckweed. That's why I said duckweed, because I was like, yeah, I never really thought about it. Yes, it is a super easy aquatic plant. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what
I'm
else
done.
is easy? Like if you're in your yard and you're looking for great flowers, dandelions.
They can be,
Just leave them out
but
there.
I think
and
they're pretty.
take those little white bulbs and go all over your lawn, and you'll have more next year and the year after that. And pretty soon, that'll just be all that you have. Matthew does stuff. Hey, everyone. I haven't been in a love for a long time. I have a planted betta tank with shrimp that I got for 25 cents each.
Wow.
Sweet deal.
Nice.
And now I see 3 of them holding eggs. Any tips for best survival rates? Yes, get the betta out of that tank. Or move the the buried female shrimp. Otherwise, your babies are going to go missing. And then let them, eventually, they will be born, hatch.
But now I'm remembering a comment that I read. Somebody, and I forget who it was, had mentioned this is a good idea. Not only can you add like leaf litter on the bottom for the little baby shrimplets to hide, but if you have like very tightly stacked rocks, you can give them lots of different ways. And even those, they have shrimp caves. They have all different sorts of things that you can use to give your little shrimplets a safe home.
Absolutely. Yep, those are all good ideas.
Yeah.
Corinne says, is understanding bioload for a tank a skill that develops over time? As a new hobbyist, I understand the criteria for bioload, but it almost feels like I won't know till I put fish in a tank. Yes, in terms of stocking for an aquarium. So first of all, we tried to make that easier. We did an entire series of videos, Joanna and I did, on Primetime Aquatics, where we went from, I think it might have been even from a 2.5 gallon all the way up to a 125 gallon tank, and all the common sizes in between. So if you look at stocking options for whatever tank you're interested in, or get close enough, the 10s, 20s, 29s, 40 breeders, we actually did stocking videos where we said, okay, here's the categories: your schooling fish, centerpiece, cleanup crew, all that stuff, miscellaneous. And then we said, hey, you can pick this many fish from each category, and that will give you a pretty good stocking for that size tank. So we did that. And then I think that information can easily transfer over, because we offered some suggestions, but it's like, okay, well, they said neon type. Can I do an ember tetra instead? Yeah, well, they're the same size and the same general temperament. So in some ways, it is something that develops over time, where you start to see aquariums and the stocking levels, which corresponds directly to bioload, and their activity level and how much they eat. You'll start to get a really good feel for how things are put together. But it's always best to err on the lighter side, right? Especially when you're first stocking a tank. Stock it very slowly, and then as you're considering the fish that you want to add them slow. And if you go on, you're not going to hurt anything by having less stocking in a tank compared to more, right? The minute you overstock a tank, it's like, oh, this is looking rough. Fish don't have enough space. The bioload is heavy. I'm getting algae problems or aggression issues. So, and you know what, too? The more you research and watch videos in fish keeping and look at our fish room tours that we've done here. We haven't done one other than the gallery tour this year, but last year, every year since, before that, we had at least one fish room tour and look at other fish room tours, and you can start to see, okay, well, what are people doing? What are they doing in terms of stocking in their aquariums? And that can help as well.
So, KG Tropicals answered, I'm so glad you asked me that question. I'd have to say Rotella, any Anubias, and any Crips. Thanks so much for asking. You're welcome.
Nice.
Rotella, yeah, that's a good one because I do have the Rotella rotundifolia, and it is it's still kicking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Voodoo Gal says snakeskin barbs and duckweed. Snakeskin barbs, I believe, eat duckweed. And the reason why I believe that is because wherever I've had snakeskin barbs, I seem to have a lack of duckweed. Rainbow fish are also excellent duckweed eaters. I know for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this duckweed? I've got a community tank and I don't want goldfish, and I know African cichlids eat duckweed, but I don't want those. I can absolutely tell you with 100% confidence in every single tank where I have rainbow fish, there is not a speck of duckweed. My 125 back here, rainbow fish, duckweed gone. 125 right next to it, there's duckweed, a little bit, but there's no barbs or rainbow fish in there. Also, the medium-sized barbs, that's why the snakeskin barbs, we had filamentosus barbs, mascara barbs, melon barbs. Every time we had those barbs within about, I'd say like a week, maybe a week and a half, not a speck of duckweed. So it's not just the goldfish, it's not just the African cichlids or the severums and stuff like that eat duckweed. Rainbow fish and a lot of the barbs do as well. Not all of them, but a fair number.
There's a really funny convo going on here. KG says, if you're asking who would win in a fight, it's Jason every time. I mean, seriously, look at that guy. I guess if pitting you and him in a fight or something.
But then John kid you. I mean.
But then John added, plus he's way older than me and has much more experience.
Whatever, dude. You're a half a century. That's all we need to know. Half a century. Yep. It's true.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Whip says, can you believe I have never... No, that is not true. Can you believe I've never seen Pulp Fiction all the way through in one sitting?
Ugh,
Can you also believe I never made it through more than 3 episodes of The Sopranos? I didn't like The Sopranos. I didn't watch
I never saw one episode of The
I don't
Sopranos.
even know what The Wire is, but Pulp Fiction is highly disappointing. I'm disappointed in you. I think that... Stand firm. You don't need to watch it. No, you do. And I think next week, the report that we need as a primetime holy... All right. First of all, John and I literally finished about an hour and a half before this stream. I don't know how many... Well, it had to be probably 6 hours of Tank Talk podcast recordings. My voice and brain is full ride right now. Yeah. Okay? Like full ride. So if my words are not coming out correctly, there's a reason for it. But anyway, Whip, dude, bro, next week we want to hear the report that you finished. Wasted an hour and a half. No. It's a classic movie. It defined the 1990s. Michelle says, will you guys be at Aquella Schaumburg? I hope so. Looking forward to it. You got it. And not only that, as I mentioned, and I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time going through this all over again because people don't want to hear it, but we will have a booth. We will have our own booth in the back area over there, and we will be bringing fish and all kinds of awesome stuff. So for those of you who are like, man, I sure would like to get some fish that have been quarantined for 4 weeks that I know are going to be super healthy. Boom. Aquella Chicago. And before anybody even asks, no, we are not bringing fish to Aquella Daytona later this year because that would require a whole lot of work that I have no interest in doing because the reason we're doing it for Chicago is we're 35 minutes away. So actually going to Aquella is way, way, way closer than any of the swaps that we do. Truth. Actually, yes. Actually, yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Oh, thank you for that. Good job. That warmed my heart. Oink says, hey, Oink. Oink is here. Sorry I'm late. Just got my dad home from 5 days in the hospital with COVID.
And our power went out from a storm. Power's back on. Happy to be here. Yeah, sorry about your dad. I'm glad he's back home. And the storms, I heard there were a bunch of stuff heading for New York and that whole area. So
glad
your
you're
power's
back
on.
Hope Dad's chilling with you.
Yeah.
And Oinks Dad, hope you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you're here watching. It's a good way to recover, right?
Perhaps.
Feeling a little down, be like, you know what? I'm going to watch a Primetime Aquatics live stream.
Some fish nerdery.
Uh-oh. Whip's bringing out my whole life here. Black belt professor, 40 years in fish keeping, and hits the gym regularly. It's like, reading that, it's all true, but oh my gosh, that is the weirdest. I'm a weird person.
We all know that.
Yeah, but reading it out loud, seeing it.
What else can we add? We could probably
very
add
strange.
some really weird stuff.
You don't need to try that hard. But first, Barbara, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. My betta died. How long will the beneficial bacteria survive till I can decide on a new fish, or how do you keep it alive? It will survive a long time. If you want to encourage it to survive, put a little tiny pinch of fish food in there. If the water clouds up a little bit, who cares? You can always gravel vac, get that stuff out. But if you want to extend that, but it will live a long time. I keep tanks in our fish room sometimes after swaps. If we empty them out, they might be empty for a couple weeks, and then boom, whole bunch of fish go back in there, a little Fritz turbo start. Everything for the most part. I mean, nothing's going to lose its cycle immediately. There's always going to be, even from decaying matter, you're going to have heterotrophic bacteria in that aquarium, basically, that are going to eat waste products, and they're going to release ammonia. Microbes that are dying and being consumed by other microbes are going to release ammonia. So there's always going to be some beneficial bacteria in there for a very long time. Again, if you were to stock that tank, let's say heavily, then maybe not enough beneficial bacteria right away, but it takes a while for those concentrations to go down considerably. So yeah, they're going to die over time, but it's not something I worry about after a few days or even a week or two.
And Matthew Dove Stuff says he just wants to say that he loves the gallery, which is
Thank you very much.
Like that. Well, someday I hope you have a tank like that. Yeah, he did it. He scaped it all himself. He literally scaped them all.
No, I didn't do it 100% myself.
Pretty
you did
much.
the planting in
I did
this
some.
125.
I did very little.
You did some of the planting in this 125 and a little bit less in this 125. I did the hardscaping stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I did the rocks and the wood, and then you and some of the plants, and you did a lot of the plants in some of the tanks. That makes any sense for you?
So anyways, good job.
Thank
I'm
you very
saying
much.
good job.
Ghostman says, what are some good tank mates for COI Loaches? They are very accepting of most fish. The real thing, nothing aggressive, right? So don't do African cichlids. Don't do any bruising South Central American cichlids, things that are going to freak out your COI Loaches. But they pretty much get along with most community fish, right? So guppy, all your live bearers are fine. Pretty much any tetra I could possibly imagine would be fine. They're not going to do anything. COI Loaches, first of all, COI Loaches, even in groups, love to hide. So we've got a group of, 6 or 8 in the 125 nano tank right there. And I see them when it's time to eat. Like, I'll see the little heads peek out around the rocks, but it's not like they're out sitting there chilling in a big group in the open substrate. I've never had COI Loaches do that. Maybe some of you have. We haven't. In fact, there is a pink COI Loach in that 125 that started out in, before Primetime Aquatics was even a thing. It was in a 20, then it moved to a 29, and then I broke that 29 down, threw it in the 150, didn't even know that thing was alive, forgot all about it, figured it died years and years and years ago, hadn't seen it. Then when we broke down the 150, I'm like, what the frig is this thing? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that COI Loach. It's been in there for years. And then I chucked it in. I don't know where it went after that. I think it went in one of the 20 gallons as a holding tank. And then I'm like, I think the COI Loach is still in, didn't see it ever again. I'm like, oh, I picked up a rock. There it was. Grabbed it, threw it in that 125, and haven't seen it since. So that COI Loach has been with us for, I don't even know, probably 12 years. Crazy. And I've maybe seen it in 12 years, a grand total. Oh, no. It was in this 50 gallon. That's where it was. It was in the 50 before we changed it over. And it was heavily planted. And I saw it a couple times there, but in 12 years-ish, maybe I have seen that fish for a grand total of 5 minutes in 12 years. So all that to say, your other fish, for the most part, unless they're big enough to eat the COI Loaches, or they're like, things I wouldn't do maybe would be like red-tail sharks, rainbow sharks, the Birdmori loach, something that's going to be aggressive towards the bottom that's just going to scare your coolies. Because scaring coolies is not cool, man.
Mm-mm. KG says, not watching all of Pulp Fiction and not liking The Sopranos. I'm out.
I have no friends here.
I know, it's weird. It's not my thing. The one thing, so we haven't been to a movie in a long time, and we went and watched The Bike Riders, as you might expect, being Harley people, and I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. It's not what I expected. So if you are somebody who is thinking about seeing it, it's got very mixed reviews now because people walked into it expecting something, and I did too. Mm-hmm. But then I really grew to appreciate it. It's based on a real story. It's based on a book that was written in the late 60s or early 70s. Really like that movie. It's the first movie that I've actually gone and seen in probably couple of years, at least a few years, and probably one of 2 movies I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years, and I really liked it.
Yeah,
so highly
it's
recommend
a little
it.
too rough for me.
Yeah, you thought it was maybe
it's more of a little bit more of a guy movie to me. I would have preferred to see a little bit more of the bikes. I don't know how, but I didn't know what kind of a movie it was. Anyways, but good acting, that's about it.
And I didn't think I was going to like the pretty boy in that movie, and he was actually really good.
Pretty boy.
I remember Benny.
The guy who played Elvis.
The James Dean lookalike or whatever. I was like, oh, what is this? This is just a Sons of Anarchy, Jax sort of guy. That's what he reminds me of. He was very good. And I even liked.
Bane did great.
Yeah.
I'll just always call him Bane.
Bane.
Yeah. What's his name?
Hardy.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy.
Yeah. All right, hold on a second. Adam says, I'm medicating the pellets for internal parasites. Good idea. In my Mbuna tank, should I remove the Purigen, or is it okay to leave in since I am medicating the food? It's probably fine if you're medicating the food. And that is by far, you're doing the right thing. That is, if they're eating and you know they have internal parasites, medicated food is 1,000,000 times more productive than just dumping the meds in water. So that's the way to do it.
Chris says, my booth is across from yours. Howdy, neighbors.
Wait, who said that?
Chris Smith.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Howdy. And Kevin's Aquatics says, I'm in the ER watching you tonight, so can you please run long for me? Oh,
I'm sorry you're there.
Everything's going all right. Oh, that's just never fun being at the ER,
Michelle says, we have a corner hexagon tank with CBDs, green neons, chilies, threadfin rainbows, green kubatai, and paskai rainbows. Would pea puffers work in there? That would be I think so. I think that would be the combo, especially since I think most of those fish are my grand fish. Is that correct to say? That sounds like a prime time Aquatics stocked aquarium if I'm thinking correctly. I do think that is the type of aquarium. And you said it's a corner hex. I thought, is that a 54 gallon? I mean, it's a pretty sizable tank too, from what I can remember you saying. But yeah, that's exactly the type of combination where I think that might work out just fine. Those fish, you're going to put snails in there, crushed snails. They're not even going to bother with them. And your pea puffer will be like, yeah, okay, I'll eat this. Yeah.
Evan says, you're our favorite weird guy. Haha. That's why we're all here. Kind of the same appeal as a circus or something.
Pretty much, right? Yep.
So true.
Look at the circus freak on TV talking about fish. Honey, come here. Yeah, that's okay. Shirley V says, hi guys, 3-month member here. Thank you so much. I have a 60-gallon planted tank with just the right amount of fish. I love it. I have black small spots over my plants, rocks. Could it be black beard algae? Yes, that is most likely the beginnings of the black beard algae, but fear not, because there are things you can do about that. You said you've got plants, okay. So there are chemicals you can use, like the Sechem, what is that? The Sechem XL? That's that CO2 thing that is an algicide. I don't like doing that because you're just adding chemicals to kill stuff. It does have an impact on some plants. At this point, I don't remember what plants it has a negative impact on, but it's a 60-gallon. I know you said just the right amount of fish, but if it's possible to add a couple of Siamese algae eaters, I'm telling you, those fish will give them time. It's not like you're going to put them in there and next day all the algae is going to be gone. And I think the reason you're asking the question is I did the members video last week about the algae issues that we had in all of these tanks, and three of them, the 75 over here, right behind Joanna's head, she got an antenna. The 125 and this 50-gallon low boy all had blackbeard algae issues. We put Siamese algae eaters in those tanks, 2 in the 75, 4 in the 125, and I think there's 2 in the 50-gallon low boy. And they are slowly but surely absolutely devouring that blackbeard algae. They did it in a 125 a year or two ago that was covered in blackbeard algae. They will, and now is the time, right? The black spots, because they're constantly trying to kind of scavenge for food. So it would be more beneficial to do it now than wait till you start actually seeing the blackbeard kind of, waving in the water.
Kevin's Aquatics might be admitted for pneumonia tonight.
No,
so
that's not good. All right,
he
chill.
says, thank you for one and all for all your well wishes, and please keep me on your prayers for the next 3 days. They expect to keep me. Lots of prayers.
Absolutely. And
For-
rest.
yes.
Just chill.
And you're in a good place.
I know you don't want to be there,
I know.
but nobody's
know,
going to make you do anything when you're there. That's the best part, is so
They'll just wake you
chill
up sometimes.
and let them feed you food and just relax. Relax, and there will be plenty to do when you get out, but just don't worry about any of that now. Just chill. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let me scroll through here. Mr. Juan says, do forktails get along with white clouds? Yeah, the little forktail rainbows, they usually do. Same energy level, roughly the same size. The Voodoo Gal says, oh man, I don't think I'm going to be able to make Chicago.
Oh.
It would have been so awesome to buy fish from you guys. You know what? You still have well over a month to make the final decision, and you could impulse a decision pretty much the day before. Be like, all right, I'm just going. I just got to do it.
Super chat from Kelly.
Wait, what?
Did you,
I think I did. Hold
Did
on.
you get that already?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me scroll around. Well, maybe because I haven't scrolled far enough down. Because remember, no, I haven't scrolled that far yet. I was still all backed up. All right, let's see here. Kelly says, by the way, thank you very much. Do you have any experience with gas bubble disease of any type, or any type of blister-like disease near the dorsal fin? My Texas cichlid has this going on. I don't necessarily, I guess I kind of have to see it, a blister. All right, so let's just say it's some kind of a growth. Most likely, that's based on the location you're talking about. There wouldn't necessarily be an opportunity for a gas bubble near the dorsal fin. Well, maybe there would. So what would I do? Texas cichlid has this going on. It's really tough to say, because now next to the dorsal fin, does it look like it's coming from inside, or is it a growth on the outside? I don't know necessarily how I would handle that without maybe seeing it first and then getting a better idea of, okay, how did it appear? How is it growing? So, man, I'm not exactly sure what I would do with that. Gas bubble disease or any type of blister-like disease near the dorsal fin. If it's so let me back up. If it is external, if it was damage, if it's some kind of an injury, maybe some other fish damage it, or sometimes they will get injuries on the fin itself, and it'll look like a whitish pink sort of growth. If that's the case, then you could do a couple things. Often I will start with something like a Maricin Oxy, because it's a medication that's not overwhelming to the tank, and it's something that you can dose daily, and you can wait 3, 4, 5 days, see if it has any impact. Texas cichlid, you could certainly add salt, right? I wouldn't go, I don't know what else is in the tank, so be a little bit careful there if you've got loaches or cories or something. I don't think you would with a Texas cichlid, but although loaches would probably do fine, but you could go 1 tablespoon per, again, assuming this is external now, 1 tablespoon of aquarium salt per, 6-7 gallons, somewhere in there. Add the Maricin Oxy. If that's not working and it is external, my next step is Maricin 1, Maricin 2 in combo. Now we're getting to the point where those are those could have an impact on your cycle. So we want to be a little bit careful with that. The thing is, if it's internal, then you're looking at a different medication route. Then you're looking at the XPLP and Paracleanse for the internal stuff. So that can be a little bit tricky, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of direction. I mean, it's really important to try to figure out the nature of that injury.
20-gallon stocking question.
Sure thing.
Ready? I don't think you got this one yet. This is from Adam. I'm getting a pair of Apistos for my 20-gallon planted tank. You haven't gotten this one yet, right?
No.
Okay. I have 6 neon tetras, 2 odos currently, and then I'm also wanting to get a few pygmy cories.
Mm-hmm.
What say you on the combo?
You got Apistos, a pair of Apistos. Pygmy cories and Apistos. And a 20. It kind of depends on the apistogramma. The Cacatoides and the Agassizii have a larger mouth that might, especially with smaller pygmy cories, you might wind up finding one in their mouth, which would be bad because I don't think they would be quite large enough to swallow the pygmies. The pygmies would probably even smaller, would be too large. Some of the smaller Apistos, like the Panduro, maybe the Borellii, their mouths tend to be smaller and maybe wouldn't go after the pygmies. So I think part of it just depends on the type of Apisto. It's borderline for me. So here's what I would do. If you like the pygmy cories because of the size, check out the Habrosus cory. Slightly bigger, little bit taller body. I think a medium-sized Habrosus to full-size Habrosus would be a safer bet, and you'd still have a really small cory that would look awesome in a 20-gallon to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Second floor says, my coolies are out all the time. I think my clown loaches make them feel secure. You know what? I know what happened. Your clown loaches were like, yo, coolies, it's perfectly fine, man. Check out all the food, bro. Come out here and eat. And the coolie's like, all right, dude, if you say so, you better not get eaten. It sure is bright out here. And the clown loach is like, I know, man, but this is where the food is. And then they're all happy. We don't have that situation. So
No.
we're just talking to our coolies, and thus they're stuck under the rocks their whole lives.
I have seen them more this week than I have in weeks prior, though.
The coolies in the 125?
Yes.
Yeah, they will peek their heads out. I mean,
Yes.
they almost seem like they're like, we're going to come out into the substrate. And like, no, we're not. No. It's just not happening for us. There's way too much happening out there. All right, let me see here. How do I get Maltese to stop hiding? Time, and as their colony gets bigger, they become more confident. I know it's frustrating. If it's a large tank and you don't care as much about the fry, like large meaning 40-gallon breeder or larger, you could add something like a Cyprichromis. That would certainly help bring them out because the Cyps are always out. The Cyprichromis are mid-water, upper water, and they're out regardless. They don't hide. So smaller tank like a 20-gallon, probably not a great idea. The Cyps need more space, and both of them need more space when they're breeding. But other than that, time, I have also done, like if I had maybe a 29-gallon or a standard 20, dwarf rainbow fish. That combination has worked for us. I know it sounds crazy. No, they're not cichlids. No, they're not from Lake Tanganyika. No, I don't really care because it worked just fine. But the dwarf rainbow fish would be another one. The true dwarfs, like the Peacock rainbows, those work because they're pretty fast. And the Maltese is, again, taller tank. I'm not talking about a 20 long. 20 long, I'm not adding anything to that tank. But a standard 20, 29, yeah, you could do dwarf rainbows. 40-gallon breeder or above if we want to keep it Lake Tanganyika specific. The Cyprichromis leptosoma is my favorite combo with the shell dwellers.
Michelle says, she forgot that in her 55 hex tank, it's a 55, by the way.
Yeah,
I forgot
okay.
that we have 2 red belted gobies. Are the gobies okay with the two covers?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're fine.
Okay. And then, let's see. Noel says, dealing with what I think is a hole in the head on one of my angels for the first time. Done with medication course in hospital tank. He's acting fine. Back in the big tank, does the hole eventually heal over?
Depends. That can be hit or miss. Sometimes it does. I personally want to keep my fish in the hospital tank until it's fully healed. So that way, if it's not healing, I don't have to pull them back out, put them back in. And plus, it's less stress. And that's just kind of how I roll with it. Tropical Tank TV says, Siamese algae eaters turn into monsters when they get a little bigger, right? Yes and no. So I actually had 3 of them in a standard 20-gallon, super, super heavily planted, and kept them there for years, longer than I should have. And then I moved them to the 125, and that wasn't nearly as heavily planted, but it was enough space. So with the Siamese algae eaters, yeah, you do want to be careful. I'm not advocating putting 3 or 4 in a 20-gallon or even a 29 because they might become territorial with one another. But for a 60-gallon, perfectly appropriate. Again, I've got the 50-gallon low boy, heavily planted, lots of rocks, 125, the 75 over there. Plenty of space, plenty of rocks, plenty of structure. And right now, they're basically following each other all around. And they're at about 3.5 inches or so in the largest tank over here. So, but when they get larger, yeah, there's an opportunity there for them to be like, you know what, I really don't want you near me anymore. But there's plenty of space there for that. And again, in the 60-gallon for that to happen as well.
Do you have super chat?
Hold on, I know I'm scrolling around. I got so... Thomas says, I'm so disappointed in myself. Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite movies ever. I didn't even realize you were quoting it until they said Pulp Fiction. It's okay. It's late.
He sometimes will pick random ones too.
I do.
So.
Sometimes I pick, so there's easy, mid-grade, and difficult quotes. And sometimes they start out mid-grade or difficult, and then I work my way to the easier ones. Sinister 18, thank you so much for the super chat. I just got a new 15-gallon column tank. That's a cool tank.
So
What fish and plants do you recommend for this type of tank? So I'm going to do fish, you do plants. You want to do plants first?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, what I did is I had kind of like a tall centerpiece of driftwood or multiple pieces of driftwood so that I could attach Anubias along the way up. And then, but Val would be another really good one because it got lots of height. Of course, Bacopa would do great too.
And there are some very tall crypts. I've had crypts that have been as tall as a 29-gallon, which is pretty close to the full height of that column tank. The only issue there is they do get a little bit wider.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to put like a crypt in the corner, you could do that. It would fill, I mean, don't get me wrong, it would fill a quarter of that tank and it would grow all the way to the top. But I do like your suggestion of the Anubias on some driftwood, or the jungle vel would certainly be a good option. Now for the fish, the problem is going to be the 15-gallon column is isn't it was it about 12 or 14 inches by 12
cube.
Inches or so? It was a cube.
Yeah.
It was tall, obviously it's a column tank, but there's not a lot of swimming space, and because of that I would prefer to either have fish that don't mind using the vertical, or they are small enough where they can just kind of go in a circle, maybe around that driftwood that you're talking about. So the vertical in a tank that size would be your guppies and your endlers. I think those are two good choices because they're going to be crazy. They're going to go top, middle, bottom, swim all around. They're going to not mind that shape. If I want to go more like schooling, then I'm looking at the small rasboras. And so I'm looking at the CPDs, the dwarf emerald rasbora, green kubatai, any of the really small ones, the dwarfs, the miras, the chili rasboras. And there you could do a couple groups of 6 or so, and they're just probably going to, it's not a cylinder, so it's not going to be like that, but they will probably just kind of circle around that tank, and they're tiny fish, really tiny, and so that space will be plenty for them.
And we had a honey gourami in there and embers.
This would also be a good tank for that pea puffer we've been talking about.
True.
So that'd be cool. And then bottom scavenger type stuff, you could do clown pleco. You could do a bristlenose. Maybe a female bristlenose. I wouldn't go male. They're a little too big for the 15-gallon.
I would say with pea puffers, the only thing is clean up. It is a long way down to that bottom. So even if you have long arms, which I do, I found it very challenging. You're going to be scraping up your arm trying to reach down in there if you have any cleanup work. So just keep in mind, whatever is going on at that bottom of the tank, you have to get to it somehow.
Michelle says, come to Aquella. There are plenty of reasonable places to stay outside of Schaumburg for sure. Stay just northeast in Deerfield, my hometown, and stop by Fish Planet. Fish Planet is awesome.
It is.
Yep, they are. That's a great fish store. I mean, even so if you're in the Schaumburg, if you're like, oh my gosh, the prices of the hotels there are a little crazy, within 20 to 30 minutes, you've got less expensive options, like let's say Elk Grove Village, which is very close. You could do, let's see, what else is out there? Hoffman Estates, which is very close.
Rolling
Meadows, Hanover
right
Park. There's a lot. Carroll Stream. There's a lot of places within about 35 minutes where you could stay for less money if that's if you're like, wow, you know what, this
You
is...
could definitely go any direction.
Yeah. Obviously, the advantage of staying at the hotel where the event is you get up and you walk downstairs. So you don't have to drive anywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I don't know if they charge for parking there.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Don't know.
Alrighty, hold on a second. Hunter says, I'm so excited that I just can't hide it. To be setting up my 20 long this weekend, I'm upgrading my kid's guppy tank. Love it. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yay.
When you can get a tank that's a little bit larger for, especially if you've got guppies in there, increase the breeding, increase their craziness. That'll be fun. David says, what type of community fish would you put in a 75 gallon? I would do something like, I'm going to go from the bottom and work my way up. So I've got some Cory cats, Adelphi Cories, or orange lasers, or the Venezuela Cories are all really cool. Barbados Cories are really cool. So pick a half a dozen of those. What do you want to do for schooling besides green neons? It's in a 75 gallon community.
Besides neons, like,
So-
I mean, you even,
Now it's a 75 gallon, so we can go a little bit
Yeah.
larger. Like for instance, I'm thinking Congo tetras.
that would be cool.
You've got a million different rainbow fish options that you could do in a 75 gallon. I mean, some
Yes.
really pretty rainbows, anywhere from the dwarf rainbows, the Bosemani, to the reds, turquoise rainbows, Kurumoi, Macalochai. I mean, there's a million. Doherty's rainbows.
Yeah.
There's a million different rainbows that you could do. Centerpiece, you could do like a pearl gourami, a group of pearl gouramis, half a dozen of those. Now, I'm not saying like put all these fish in the tank at the same time, but I'm doing like maybe a long fin lemon drop blue eye pleco or a 4. So that would look kind of cool as kind of like your scavengers along with the Venezuela Cories. What else?
I'd do something that nobody else would want to do, but I think it would look really cool. A big group of silver tips.
Yeah, that can be interesting because
See
the
what I
males
mean?
and the females are slightly different colors. Not as nearly as colorful as any of the fish I
No, they're
mentioned,
not, but they have
but they are
really
cool.
fun
Yeah.
schooling behavior.
They're cool. And with those, you could maybe do the lemon tetra too. That would be pretty interesting with the colors there. The centerpiece type fish, I might go with maybe a pair of rams. Bolivian rams, not the German blues, because the German blues need higher temperatures, and some of those fish are like, yeah, I'm not cool with that. Get it? Not
How
cool
about-
with that.
How about Empire Gudgeons?
Love that choice. Yeah, that would be a really good one. We've got Empire Gudgeons in here, did a species profile. And the only problem with those is they're hard to find and super expensive. But yeah,
Yeah,
that would
besides
be
that.
striking. Those fish, when they're colored up and fired up like they are for us every morning, oh my goodness. They're awesome. Matt says, hey guys, I have a 20 gallon tall with 6 Serpe tetras, 3 Cories. I want to bump up to 10 Serpe, maybe more Cories. Any ideas on other additions? So 20 gallon, yeah, the 10 Serpe would be reasonable. 3 Cories, I might, in a 20, I don't know if I'd go more than like 5. And then I think from there, maybe, again, you're looking at some type of a centerpiece, whether it's like Joanna's suggestion of the Empire Gudgeon. You could go smaller with the Peacock Gudgeon. You could do some type of a pistogramma, crebensis, just something that's going to offer some personality, like just like notice that you're there, which a lot of the small cichlids do, which are pretty cool. If you can go nanochromis, if you can find them, that's a sweet looking fish. Again, expensive. Checkerboard cichlids, a little bit on the pricier side, but
Yes.
absolutely stunning. Stay small, right, for that 20 gallon. Stuff like that. That's how I would roll. William says, one of my tanks is a 60 gallon community tank with lots of small community fish like rasboras, scissortails, guppies, tetras, Cories, with 4 glass cats that always hide. Glass cats will do that. I've got glass cats in the 125 right here. I have 6 or 7 of them. 4 of them are constantly over in the filter, like by the
Yes.
intake, and they
They're
just kind of
such
sit there in the corner.
goofballs.
And then a couple of them are over here, and they're like crazy. And when I had them in the 75 gallon that was on this side before it became the gallery, it was the same thing. I think all 6 of them hid. I would feed them, they would come out and eat, and they would go back to the back of the aquarium. There are some fish that just feel more comfortable being where they're at. with glass cats, I think a big part of that is lighting. So when you really look at their behavior and when you really look at where they are at in the tank, often they're trying to find darker areas within the tank. And I just think with glass cats, they feel more comfortable with more subdued lighting. And I bet you if you had less lighting, not saying it's necessarily ideal, especially if you've got a planted tank, but my guess is they would probably start to come out more. I don't think they like high light. That's just my philosophy. That's my philosophy. Where's that pen?
I have a random kind of question comment. Okay. You know what fish I miss seeing right over there?
What?
The gosh, I just totally blanked on the name. The leaf tenopoma.
Oh, the leaf tenopoma is
Yeah.
in the 125 up
I
there.
know,
with
but
the
I miss seeing him
Deha.
like right over there.
Yeah, leaf tenopoma is an awesome fish. They are predatory and they will eat other fish that fit into their mouth, which they can kind of extend, but they're not aggressive at all. They're just by nature ambush
Yeah.
predators, but
Yeah.
really, really docile fish. Not, like I said, not aggressive. Great
Always
fish.
really
Very
fun to
slow
watch.
moving.
Very, yeah.
Like a leaf.
Yeah. Blake, thank you very much for the super chat. I once kept a pair of Siamese algae eaters in a 37-gallon tall to help with hair algae, in which they were great at taking care of, but they chowed down on my Java moss. I don't keep any in my 55-gallon due to me being afraid of my plants. Still love the Siamese algae eaters. Yeah, we keep them in, obviously, all of our planted tanks. I've always done that because that blackbeard algae, it grows on the edges of the anubias all over the wood, and they've taken care of all the stuff on the wood and most of the anubias, but I've never had them eat plants, and we've had them with crypts, with swords, with anubias, jungle val. I've got some crinum in that. That's that big giant plant that's right here towards the end that's kind of going over. That plant can get to be like 5-6 feet tall, so sometimes it'll grow like all the way across the 125. But never had a problem with them eating plants. I could see them eating Java moss, especially if it's covered in green hair algae. I could see them potentially chowing it all down.
Ben Ochard is here.
What's up, Ben?
Hi, Ben. He suggested a dozen rummy nose. And I don't remember what tank size, but some of the ones that we've mentioned, rummy nose,
Yeah.
Rasbora,
Rummy nose rasbora, rummy nose tetra.
tetras.
Yeah, rummy nose rasboras to me are, well, I like them better than the rummy nose tetra.
Yeah.
And the rummy nose tetra for me has always been one of those fish, man. Once they get sick, I just, I
Yeah.
lose them all so fast. Where the rummy
Yeah.
nose rasbora has been a little bit hardier for us.
Mm-hmm.
Grow more veggies. Thank you very much for the super chat. Is a 33 breeder a good size for 7 lyre-tail mollies? Pulling them out of a community tank, will they fill that size tank quickly? Oh man, mollies will fill pretty much any size tank quickly. So 33 breeder. I don't even know. So I've had a 33 long. That's the 4-foot tank. That's one. It's basically 4 feet by 1 feet by 1 foot. 1 feet by 1 foot. And I mean, yeah, they're gonna eventually fill. If they're really happy and breeding, they're probably gonna fill most tanks given enough time. But it's a decent amount of space for them. I wouldn't hesitate to throw them in there.
EJ's here. EJ Fishes.
I just saw that, and he said my rainbow shiners are doing great. I'm glad your impulse buy at the swap worked out well.
That's another fish we should mention.
Well, oh my
that's
gosh,
beautiful.
rainbow shiners. Yeah, I've got right there. I still have some. Not many. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe 12, 15 or so.
They're
But it was
so
funny because
pretty.
what happened at the swap is Rink came over, who's got some of our rainbow shiners. He's like, dude, these things were not coloring up for months and months and months. He's like, how come I look at all these pictures and then my fish look just tan? I'm like, give them time. And they eventually, and then one day he walked over on Saturday. He's like, I've never seen that before, a fish that look like that, because rainbow
Crazy.
shiners, when the males finally color up, they have an neon
crazy.
electric blue that most fish will never achieve in their life. And they fire up with this insane color, and they can color up and color down in an instant. But when they're colored up, especially if these are perfect fish, if you've got a small little tiny pond, first of all, they're cool water. Well, I wouldn't even necessarily call them cool water because we keep them at 80 and they're perfectly happy, but they can go well down into the 60s, low 80s is fine. So you got a wide range for temperature, but you put them in a small pond and you see this crazy electric blue. They're stunning. They're stunning from the side too. When you get the lights that's shining on them, oh my goodness. So
pretty.
glad they are doing well. But yeah,
Yeah.
Rink was coming over bragging about them, and Eric was like standing right there. He's like, "You got any of those?" I'm like, "I got one bag right there." Okay, I'm gonna do it. So just give them time. They're gonna be
give them time.
insane. Okay, let me see. Zeus says, primetime, Aquella Chicago will be 48 minutes from me, my first, looking to conserve money. Think half day is enough time, not early bird. Maybe on first of all, no, I don't think a half day is enough time. A full day really gives you the full experience, because keep in mind, they run talks all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So if you see a couple talks, that takes up a couple hours of your time, and then you're left trying to get around to see all the other stuff. Because here's what happens with Aquella. It's big, and for a lot of people who go there the first time, it's big to the point where it can be a little overwhelming. And so what a lot of people will do is they have to walk around the entire day and just keep walking around. And every time you walk around, you see different things. A lot of vendors are giving away free samples of stuff, and sometimes you'll miss something. You'll come back and be like, oh my gosh, here's a little game where I can win something, or spin the wheel, or here's a talk that I didn't know I wanted to see, or oh my gosh, now look at the aquascaping competition is almost done, or I want to watch the aquascapers aquascape for a half hour. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, a half a day is better than no day. It is absolutely worth your money. If you're not into crowds, Sunday is the better day to go, because Sundays typically are less crowded than Saturday. Although this last time at the Dallas Aquella, the Sunday was far busier than I had seen in times past, where it was almost like the Saturday wasn't quite as busy as we normally see, but the Sunday was busier. So it was interesting the way that worked out.
Did you get
Nope,
Blake's super chat?
Yes,
One
yes,
skipped
I
a
did.
pair.
Yep.
Okay. And then
Yep, grow, yep. And now I'm down over here to
Shirley?
Shirley B. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Didn't see a question, but I think it's because there was a crazy sticker going on here. Yep. Number 3. Thank you very
Cute.
much. And then we also have Second Floor, who's been a prime timer now for 36 months. How was that a thing? That's crazy.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, another great stream tonight. Thanks for all the great info. How do you feel about silver flying fox instead of SAE? Mine love algae. So the flying fox is an extremely similar fish to the Siamese algae eater. The only thing about the flying fox is it doesn't necessarily eat blackbeard algae the way that the Siamese algae eater does. So sometimes people will either mistakenly label the flying fox as a Siamese algae eater, and then people buy them thinking that they're going to eat other blackbeard algae, and they tend to stay away from it more. But the flying fox still does great with the green hair algae, like you said, as does the Siamese algae eater. And that was one of the problems we had in this tank, the nano tank, the 125, is there was a lot of green hair algae in there, and now there isn't. Obviously, there's not a speck of it in there. And then even in the primetime video the prime timers video that I showed in the 75 behind Joanna's head over there, I actually showed a Siamese algae eater eating green hair algae as I was shooting the video. It was just kind of sticking up from a rock, and now that is completely gone. So, yeah. But
They're
the flying
busy.
fox is cool too. But if you want the blackbeard algae, trust me, Siamese algae eater. But if you just got green hair algae or you just want something to kind of nibble, flying fox is awesome.
Plus, it's got a fun name.
It does have a fun name.
You know?
That is true. All right, everybody. I think it is about time to call this wonderful night a night, because it's getting late and people want to go night-night. And I want to thank everybody for being here, for hanging out with us tonight, because it was fun. You got a lot of really great questions. If we didn't get to all of them, we're sorry. We can only answer so many. If you have questions, bring them again next week. We'll be here same time, same place. Ben, yes, the Florida flagfish, another awesome fish at eating algae for sure. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you got questions, bring them again next week. We'll try to get to as many as we can. We'll be here same time, same place. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Night-night.
Have a great week.